Loft 100 Studios, the Big Biz Show, and our affiliates and our hosts are not registered investment advisors or broker-dealers.
Our show hosts make no commitment that the purchase of securities of companies profiled or otherwise mentioned in our programming
are suitable or advisable for any person, or that an investment in such securities will be profitable in general.
Given the nature of the company's profile and the lack of an active trading market for the securities, investing is highly speculative and carries a certain high degree of risk.
We profile selected publicly traded and privately held companies on our program.
Most of these companies that we profile have provided compensation to Loft 100 Studios and its hosts for the profile coverage.
From time to time, we sell shares of the companies profiled in the open market that we receive as compensation for coverage of client companies.
But never sell stocks if we are speaking about interviewing or covering a public company who has paid compensation.
Specific questions on compensation can be obtained by contacting producer at sullygroup.com.
Listeners should verify all claims and do their own due diligence before investing in any securities mentioned on this program.
Investing in securities is speculative and carries a high degree of risk.
We encourage our investors to invest carefully and read the investor information available at the websites on the
Securities and Exchange Commission at sec.gov and or the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, FINRA, at www.finra.org.
I like it.
Hey, is that a rescue plane?
Welcome to the Big Biz Show. Taking care of business. You want fast-talking, hard-hitting discussions on business and finance? Maybe with a barroom slant and some really salty peanuts? We're not counting calories. We're counting cash. Before we get to the man with the financial plan, meet the money team. Costa, Mary, and Greg. Now Captain Finance himself, Sully.
From the Loft 100 Studios, wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, thanks for being along for the ride. I am bringing a little more handsome into your life today. Of course, I'm Costa. That is Mary Godwin. Our executive producer is Greg Todorod, and the man right there is Sully. What's going on?
Did you say you're bringing a little more ham into our life?
A little bit more handsome into your life, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome.
Mike Costa. Mike Costa thinks Funyuns is a food group.
Greatest food on earth.
And his blood type is gravy. Hey, let's say hi to the DTT, Day Trader Trio's up there. There we go. Look who's in studio.
Wow.
Look who's in studio today.
Thanks for having me.
The Puntrepreneur.
Yes, that's true. Matching socks.
Howie Crash Fox. What are you doing here in town, big fella?
Well, listen, I think you had quite a show planned. I didn't want to miss it.
Yeah, we do. We have a huge show today because we were introduced to Kirk Huntsman from Vivos. Vivos Therapeutics, stock symbol VVOS, I'm going to say a month ago. And they have an oral device that deals with OCOSA. Mike, what does that stand for?
Obstructive sleep apnea.
It'll kill you.
Oh, wow.
It will kill you.
I'm talking to you.
Yes.
It'll kill you.
It'll kill me. That's right. That's why I'm going
You know what's going to kill you?
What?
Your wife.
I know.
If you
because
don't
I'm
get treated.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I have an idea.
That's why we have a guest room.
I have an idea for a commercial for Vivos, by the way.
Sure.
You know, I think we do like a pharmaceutical commercial. You know how all pharmaceutical commercials have a meadow?
Mm-hmm.
And they got a couple of bathtubs?
Sure.
Yeah.
And a blue sky.
They all use the same set.
So it's like one of those, and they're always wearing stuff that looks like they got Dockers on. And, you know, they're always very plain vanilla.
Fun weekend in Vermont.
And it's like this. It's like, honey, I'm sorry for my bad behavior. I wanted to do something romantic. So I got myself a CPAP machine. Or no, I got you Vivos. I think that'd be fantastic because it is such a pervasive disease, malady, condition that it affects most of you.
Yes. Right.
So we're going to have the entire show today dedicated to talking to not only Kirk Huntsman, but also a dentist, a neurologist,
a
cardiologist, and an IRS agent.
Not necessarily in that order.
Howie, great having you on the show. We'll talk to you later.
Glad to be here.
We'll catch Howie later in the show. Big Biz Show.
I like the audience anyway.
125 million television homes strong. Not to mention Bloomberg Financiero. Big Biz Show's back in a minute soon.
Wherever you're watching, wherever you are listening, this is the Big Biz Show. We are live from the Loft 100 studios in sunny Southern California. Other parts of the world, we're known as the Large Financial Program.
That's Mike's other show.
That's my other show. Soon to launch, but it is the Big Biz Show. Costa, Marybird Godwin, our executive producer, that handsome fellow right there is Greg Todorov. And of course, Captain Finance himself, Sully.
Look at who's here.
My hero.
I will tell you, Kirk Huntsman is a serial entrepreneur. I've got to know him pretty well over the last month and a half. Senior healthcare executive, and the guy that's in charge of Vivos. Now, this is important because we talked about this thing called obstructive sleep apnea about 6 weeks ago. Kirk came on the air with his company, Vivos. By the way, they're publicly traded under the stock symbol VVOS. And this is really the change that we need, the disruption that we need in the therapy for there. And it's not just about, you're going to find out because we have a whole show about this, talking about the benefits of Vivos. And by the way, this is not a paid commercial program. It's because we got so much response from you guys, both on television and radio, nationally and internationally, that we wanted to bring you on. So welcome, man. Good to see you.
Hey, thanks.
Love to have you in studio.
Good to be back.
You've been in the health care sort of business for 40 years.
Yep.
How can that be? Because you're 35 years old.
That's right. Well, I've aged well.
Can you give an overview again for the people, because we've picked up some new affiliates since you were last on, exactly what obstructive sleep apnea is, what it does, and then how Vivos is being the disruptor in resolving a hole in the marketplace?
Sure, I'd be glad to. Well, obstructive sleep apnea really began to be observed back in the middle 1800s. And it actually was first called the Pickwickian syndrome after a
at the Pickwick Bar and Grill, somebody had a little bit too much.
That's one of those I wish we would have stuck with.
Was it true?
It was Charles Dickens wrote a book, The Pickwick Man or something.
Right.
And so there was a major character there that was named Joe, and he was overweight, and he had problems breathing. He had all the classic symptoms.
Funyuns?
Had all the classic symptoms of what we now know as obstructive sleep apnea. But it was 120 years later before and it began to be called the Pickwickian syndrome way back in the mid 1800s. But it wasn't until the mid 1900s, 1950s and 60s, that it began to emerge into the medical literature.
Was it a syndrome because it was snoring, or was it a syndrome because people were dying?
They didn't really know yet at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, so they identified a profile. So people began to be called Pickwickian men, and it was typically thought of as a male obese type disease. And now we know it's so much more. But it took 120 years for that to be recognized by the medical community as a real condition. Yeah. And nowadays, now we know there's 1 billion people around the world that suffer from this. Mm-hmm. And as our collective societies have gotten more obese, as we've just sort of learned more about it, we now know that obstructive sleep apnea affects every major part of our anatomy, every major system in our body, from our neurology to our endocrine system. I mean, and it ruins everything.
Right.
And so a lot of study, a lot of research, over 40 different comorbidities. And today on the show, we're going to have a neurologist and a cardiologist, and we're going to talk about kids.
A dentist and
we're going to talk about all the ways that this screws up our lives. Yeah. The thing I think it's important to know is that this is one of the most ubiquitous diseases known to men. It's everywhere.
How many people? What's the addressable market? How many people worldwide in the U.S.?
A billion people worldwide. In the United States, 70 million people with breathing and sleep disorders, and obstructive sleep apnea is by far the most deleterious, right?
And it kills you, right? It's not just about ticking off Mike's wife because she can't sleep.
Yeah. It's going to cut 10 years off of his life if he doesn't get this thing fixed.
Dumb.
Yeah, it is a...
No kidding.
Yeah, it'll take 10 years, up to 10 years off of your life.
Let me bust Mike. Mike, did you have a CPAP machine at one point?
I did.
And you don't have it anymore?
No.
I caught because I was going to bring it in because I drop kicked it. That's the problem. Right?
Yeah.
Because you're wearing a tube and a mask and a whole thing, and you got the thing and the thing.
Is that what that is?
This is sexy, isn't it, Mary?
That's a CPAP. That's the
this is what this is the easy one.
That's one of the more benign ones right there.
This has a little elastic thing, right, Mike?
Yes.
And you put this up and you sleep like this. Hey, honey, how about a little something, something, babe?
That's good looking, dude. You go.
Nothing says.
Hey, I'm in the mood like a CPAP machine.
But mine was a hard plastic. I think of Bane in Batman. A hard
you're
plastic.
Darth Vader, man.
You're Darth Vader. It's a huge tube, and then it's about a 15-pound base that you got to plug in. And thank you. And you're carrying this.
It's a problem because let me take the other side of this. Because what you're saying. So I talked to. I was with a friend of mine who says, and very fit, 0% body fat, but has obstructive sleep apnea, which is really interesting. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
But he says, man, my CPAP device, I am addicted to it. It's blowing straight oxygen into my brain every night. Well, it's not really happening.
No. Never felt that way.
Was your problem non-compliance? You'd throw that thing off the second in the middle of the night?
Because you put it on and like, okay, I know I need this, and you try to fool yourself into, this is good for me, it's going to be great. And then you're sleeping, and you roll over one night, and how come I can't breathe? Well, because the tube's wrapped around your neck, and you got the hard mask.
That kind of kills the deal.
And the mask is up here, by the way. It's not on your nose where it's supposed to be.
And do you know what's nowhere near you? Your wife.
Your wife, yeah. And you're in the guest room with the dog. So
this says, hi, I never want to have sex again. Can I ask you this? Is this the best practices prior to Vivos? Was this literally the best? Obviously, different types of masks.
So to put a fine point on this, these CPAP machines were introduced in the mid 1980s.
Yeah.
We're now in mid 2020s, right? And they're still. They are recognized as the gold standard of treatment and care for people with obstructive sleep apnea. Because we haven't advanced, now individual CPAP machines have gotten better and quieter and this and that, but the core technology has remained the same. And so...
Is this the path of least resistance?
It is the path of least resistance for doctors. It's sort of the go-to, you're not going to get in trouble if you recommend CPAP. So
wait a second. So I want to get to the good news.
Yeah.
Because there is good news.
By
the
way, news. Yeah.
Mike was big in the 80s. Now he's big and he's 80.
Yep.
So, but I want to say there is hope now, though. And this is non-invasive hope.
Yeah.
And this is not just a one-trick pony. Also, talk about what you guys do.
Well, it's important to understand how we got here, just briefly. And that is that not only are we heavier nowadays as a general society, we weigh more and all that, but we also don't develop ourselves the way we used to. And our children don't breastfeed, we don't eat a hard food diet. There's a lot of other things that don't. And we now know that this condition actually begins in the womb. And so when we start to develop as human beings here on planet Earth, our airways are not developing the way our ancestors did. And so we get all kinds of body twists and contortions and things that make it hard for us to breathe, harder than our ancestors had to breathe. And so we get small, dilapidated airways.
There are lifestyle choices, plus there's environmental stuff that's happening.
There's all kinds of stuff.
And we're evolving.
And we get smaller, worse functioning airways as a result. So what our technology does effectively...
Now wait a second, let's be real clear on that. So this is a typical airway.
That's an airway.
Of someone with sleep apnea, because it's narrower and it's narrower.
Right, so if you look at the top, so you see so this is the... This is the apertures that are going into your nasal cavity right here, okay?
Yeah.
And so if you can imagine when you lay back and you're supine, you're laying down, that's what collapses right there.
Now, but there's also, if you're overweight, you got weight on that.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Because your tongue is falling back. So everything that's not functioning properly and is patent and taut, all of that stuff falls back and collapses your airway. What our technology does is it actually creates a larger space and opens up and improves the patency.
Let me show this.
So you can show these
because look at the difference here. First of all, you got a 60% increase or 160% increase in at this angle, and then look at this. I mean, you can hide this one behind you.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this is what happens.
That's a 59-year-old male airway, by the way.
So this is physiologically what happens.
Yes.
After the use of this device.
That right there.
Kirk Huntsman with
This brings me
Vivos.
back to Marston Junior High School.
With Vivos
Nancy Higbee,
Therapeutics.
my first kiss. You don't want to go to the dentist or anything, do you? I cannot wait to get this thing on.
He's with us in studio. Their ticker symbol is VVOS. Find out all about them. Change your life. And I'm one of the people who has
Let's talk
at
about that.
vivoscare.com.
So this, you go to a doctor for this? You go to a dentist for this?
This is an oral medical device that you get from a dentist that's specially trained in how to use this. So it's not just any dentist, but they've got to have some special training to understand the condition and understand how to diagnose. We're going to bring one of those dentists on in here in a moment. But these devices actually reposition and remodel the airway.
Yep.
Wow.
And once you're treated, it's one and done. So you don't have to do this throughout your life. This thing right here, you've got to wear this contraption.
Mike doesn't even have his anymore.
You have to wear it every night for life or risk dying young.
Right.
I do remember that time you were drinking him when you thought it was a tape deck. It was different. So here's the deal. Really, really good stuff. We do have a dentist and vice president of clinical integration here at Vivos Therapeutics.
Yep.
And Dr. Bahar Esmaili is going to be here in just one second to talk about that. But we're also going to talk about Mike's journey because, Mike, you've been to a dentist that was referred to you
That's
by
right.
Kirk Huntsman, and you're going through the...
It is the Loft 100 Studios. The show is the Big Biz Show. Coming live from sunny Southern California. I got my CPAP apparatus on, breathing freely, feeling good, looking good. Costa, Mary, Godwin, Greg Todorov, and Sully.
Mike, is that sort of what happened to you in the middle of the night?
1,000%. Every single friggin' night. And and to boot, you wake up and you got these strap marks on your face that look like you've been wearing a...
It makes you look thinner, though.
A little bit.
Because you look swollen now.
Yeah.
You know.
I got stung by a bunch of bees right before the show.
Okay, can I ask you this? Did the lovely, did she ever complain about the noise? Or did she complain about you stopping breathing in the middle of the night? Was there any concern or was it just a noise?
Me stopping breathing really didn't concern her. It was more that her sleep was being interrupted, the snoring, and please, can you just go to the guest room?
Were you tired all the time?
Exhausted.
Are you now tired all the time?
Yeah, I still am because I'm not using my CPAP machine. Right. I have a bite guard at night, which is equally sexy. But then I'm going through the processes right now. I have a sleep test coming up, and then once I get my sleep test done.
Ooh.
Okay, okay, good. So I want to talk because we're going to do a series here because Mike is taking it seriously and going through Vivos to your dentist that Kirk recommended.
Super great.
And so what has happened so far? Have you had any pictures taken? Have they taken
massive? We went in for about almost 2 hours, and every camera they have available, they X-ray your mouth, or it's 3D. It's
like an MRI type thing.
Yeah, almost like no.
In fact, there's Mike right here.
Yeah.
This is a digital.
My skull's a lot more pointed, unfortunately. So you go through all these tests.
Painless and...
oh my God, so easy.
Yeah.
You go in, you kick back in the chair, beauuful music playing.
Fall asleep and start snoring?
Yeah. I was almost going to start snoring during the dentist visit. But again, it's very hands-on for them, but for you, it's effortless.
Are you feeling hopeful, honestly? Do you feel better? Because you weren't thinking about it before.
As soon as he held up that little oral device, and I was like, light goes on, game changer.
Yeah, gotta do it. Well, speaking of dentists, Dr. Bahar Esmaili is here. She is the dentist of record here for Vivos. She's the vice president of clinical integration, right? What does that mean? What do you do? What are you doing? What do you do here?
Well, all I do, that's why I have my little friend here, is solving this puzzle and trying to get this in order so that people can breathe.
So is it a skull problem? Is it a physiological problem?
It's all of it. It's all of it. Like, I'm hearing people talking about the stock market and the state of economy, and they got to the root of it, and they're talking about the global markets and the stock this and Feds that. We know what we see on the grocery store and the gas is not the issue. We know something higher up. But when it comes to our health, we never ask a question like that. We think that snoring is the issue. But let me tell you what. There are feds involved in the healthcare, and there are things involved in your body that governs it. Your brain is the feds behind everything that happens. And if your brain decides...
Your brain is your Federal Reserve.
That's right. Did you know that? Your brain decided to be here to seek the help you need, and your brain decides how you breathe.
So what I want to ask you is, why is it important that we not breathe through our mouth and breathe through our nose? What does that matter?
Well, first of all, that's our design, to get our tongue to the roof of the mouth. And that's why I have my skull in here. If you think about it.
Hey, that's my mandible.
You
By
can
the
have
way,
that.
don't you love Bruce Horsley's mandible rain?
You can have that
Bruce
one.
can play the mandible.
Right, to play mandible. Here's the roof of your mouth.
Yeah.
That is the floor of your nose. That's the same real estate.
Boy.
I'm so far.
That's interesting.
That's how we were built.
One man's
Thought about
ceiling
that.
is the other man's floor to the
Exactly.
nose.
So
Okay.
if your mouth is contorted and narrow, it will make your nose non-functional. So which means.
But wouldn't you
now-
sound funny when you talk and stuff like that, or is it sometimes?
It does.
Okay.
A lot of people that just sound nasal, they cannot breathe out. It's because their system can't get the air in and get it out properly. So what I did understand, I've been a dentist for 15 years, and for 4 years I have not been touched a drill because the focus in dentistry and the mode of operation is that the teeth are independent of the system. But you hold the mandible, you hold it.
Okay. I feel like I'm
Is
in
there
trouble.
any, you're in trouble. There is no connection between all the different structures with that. Do you want to attach this here? You're not a dentist, but go ahead and attach that over here.
Attach it.
Yeah. Yeah, it won't hold.
Look at that.
Oh, there we go. Where are the magnets on the teeth?
Oh, I see.
That's what's screwing us up. Because what happens is, these pearly whites are not there the day we were born, are they? No, they become a part of this as we grow. Fun fact. What happens at 11 years old? The kids get canines. What happens at 7 years old? They get molars. What happens at 6 months old? They get front two teeth. And they start rolling, walking, crawling, standing. Do you think that's by coincidence? No. That's how we develop. So when the body is out of contortion and is twisted and the skull is like Kirk was talking about in the womb and during delivery process, this entire system is crooked. This system is like the family that's already there before the kids come in. The teeth come in and the system is not locked. And you know what airway is? This is reality. What is airway?
Airway?
Yeah, what is it?
Like my airway? I'm assuming it's my esophagus. It's my.
It's a hollow tube.
Yeah,
It's a hollow tube, Mike.
Right. Thank
It's
you.
a hollow tube.
Like the one you're holding.
Yeah.
And like
Just
the hollow space in your
This
soul.
is a hologram of a hollow tube inside of you.
Yeah.
What is a hollow space? It's nothing but its borders. What are the borders of the airway? Your tongue, your jaw,
Okay.
your skull, your neck.
Can I ask you
your
something?
diaphragm.
You mentioned birth and stuff. Is this a genetic disease or is this?
It is more of an epigenetic that is enforced on kids as they're getting molded to humans inside the womb, and as they come through the birth canal to become human and come to this world. And the fact is, these skull bones have to shape into a little telescope, and then poof, with the first breath, to go breathing in and out. We go from amphibian in the womb to becoming a human with air in our lungs. The process, unfortunately, caused a lot of disruption. So from the first breath, instead of breathing completely, I have this little doohickey here. That's how they do it.
Oh, I see. Okay, I have a question for you because I know from talking to you before the show, you have treated some very famous people.
Yeah.
One of which is Shaquille O'Neal, and we have some photographs that I want to take you because Shaq had a crooked face, and you wouldn't.
And a crooked body.
And you wouldn't have known it.
No.
And a lot of people have a crooked face that you don't know about because the mouth impacts everything.
Yep.
Jared, our Emmy Award-winning director, is going to bring up some pictures. So you can see there a before and after to the right, but you see where he started here, and look at the photographs, top and bottom, and right and left, how his face has changed. Obviously, he's lost some weight there, but explain sort of what the journey he went through.
You know, the first thing I looked at Shaq when he stood up, 7 foot tall. If you've never felt like a tiny human being stand next to Shaquille
Me and Mike have never felt it. Thanks for bringing that up. One more freaking day, I would have been over.
I'm
it.
7 feet
Suck
wide.
it in here.
When Shaq says, I love small chicks, I'm like, Shaq, define that. Because
I like
everybody
small
compared to you as a small.
Exactly.
But fact is, when you look at a 7 foot tall, if you cannot notice that he is completely shifted to one side, like his body is just completely relying on one side to propel through space and play for 7 teams. And that's really what was telling you is missing, is that they treat his airway as a machine to keep pumping air to keep that tube open. All the while, this tube cannot stay open on its own.
Okay, very quickly. I want to go through, show some more photos here because the photos are not just of airway photos, but his physiological change.
Yeah.
As this kind of, so pick up another one, Jared, where we can see sort of a before and after, or even kind of. So here is he starts up by losing 55 pounds. Take to the next one because there's some kind of clinical programs here. There he is.
Whoa.
Now look at the ones that have the shape next to it. So look how he's leaning to the right here.
Yep.
Like you talked about.
Yep.
Our left, Mike. Okay. And then look at that. That's amazing. Now, do you think this is a result, or do you know this is a result?
Oh, I know this is the result.
Talk to us about it.
Now, here's the thing. I was trying to really make this simple, is a drone picture. When we're talking about an airway, Another fun question. What's the difference between a live and a dead person?
I'm doing the interview here, lady.
Yeah. Oh.
Live person, dead person.
Live and a dead person.
They're not breathing.
Well, one of them can exhale and the other one cannot exhale.
Okay.
You want to stay alive, keep on inhaling.
With us, we got more because who do we have coming up? We have a cardiologist coming up next, a neurologist,
a neurologist, pediatric neurologist, and then a cardiologist. Yeah.
I have so many questions.
Then start asking them, lady. Let's go. You got the experts.
You ready?
Vivo.
We are comfortably sequestered here inside the Loft 100 studios in beautiful sunny Southern California. Welcome to the Big Biz Show. Hope you guys are having a great day. Thanks for being along for the ride. I am Costa, standing next to the bar.
Standing room only here, pal.
Pretty much. Mary Godwin, as usual. Our executive producer is Greg Todorov, and of course, Captain Finance, as we call him, Sully.
We've got the folks from Vivos Therapeutics, but first we are brought to you by Prudential. Let Prudential be your rock for retirement. Also brought to you by Bayer Advanced. Better science, better results. Mike, you don't take it, you sprinkle on your lawn. Different Bayer.
I learned the hard way.
It's Bayer fertilizer. Starbucks coffee. Maybe you heard of them. I'm hopped up on it right now. And of course, Bloomin' Brands and their fine family of restaurants, including Bonefish Grill, Fleming Steakhouse, and of course, Outback Steakhouse. Did I say Outback Steakhouse? With authentic Australian food. They've got bloomin' onions growing on the side of the road on the way to Perth.
Gets me every time.
And of course, Taylor Guitars here, right here from sunny San Diego, California. Big Biz Show's on there. Great to have you on. Kurt, so if you're not scared to death of getting tested at this point, if you're an audience member, you sort of should be, because the addressable market is so huge for you guys. This is such a disruptor. I want to stop down just for a second and talk about a press release that I saw today.
Yeah.
About the American Medical Association and codes and so on and so forth. And at the same time, let's talk a little bit about FDA real quickly.
Sure.
Let's cover the arc of the story in the FDA first, and let's talk about the press release second.
So, look, there's a lot of, as you guys alluded to, there's a lot of oral devices out there on the market, right? But only one, I'm holding it in my hand, only one has gone through all of the safety and efficacy testing and all of the FDA clearances for safety and efficacy, which means it's not going to hurt you and it's going to really work. Mm-hmm. And so that costs millions of dollars. Not everybody can afford to have to push that all through, but this device, we've done that. And so in November of last year, we got a clearance for this device to treat severe. So that means mild, moderate, severe, whatever kind of obstructive sleep apnea you have, this device is now cleared for it. So that's the first thing. Then just a few weeks ago, we actually got a clearance for this device to treat moderate to severe in kids.
Wow.
What
age?
So it goes, the FDA says 6 to 17 is how they define the pediatric market. So this was cleared for moderate to severe OSA in children. And
can I ask a quick question of Dr. Esmaili? At what age do you think, could he have had this as a child? Is that typical?
Definitely.
Well, you're saying even from the birth canal. I mean,
I think
yes.
From birth canal, there should be treating obstructive.
Well, I know he got his misshapen head from the birth canal.
But that affects the obstructive.
It does.
Airway.
It does.
Right.
It actually.
So this is significant then.
Oh, it's really significant because, so when you think about it, and we have, we're going to bring Dr. Geller on in just a moment, but we have
a neurologist.
She's a pediatric neurologist. So you think about it, what's neurology have to do with an airway? It's all interconnected, right? Right now in this country, just the United States, 10 million children are known to be afflicted by obstructive sleep apnea.
Okay, it makes me ask a question. It's an addressable market, but are people aware that they're kids?
No,
and that's a problem, right?
That's a huge problem. That's why we're trying to get the word out to physicians and the general public.
Is this, and I don't know if I'm saying, is it SIDS, crib death? Is this possibly related?
Possibly related to. It is possibly related to, because we know children are not taking their first breath properly.
Right.
And that can continue on and turning into a full-blown obstructive sleep apnea.
Well, let's talk to Amalia Geller, of course. She's a pediatric and development sleep pediatric doctor.
Right, I'm a child neurologist, board certified in neurology, child neurology, and board certified in sleep medicine.
I feel less just being next to you.
All underachieve.
All of you.
So let's talk about the the open air indicator is the sidecar effects, so to speak. It's not just about sleep. It's not just about standing crooked. There's much more to this, correct?
Absolutely. And when I learned that this device was FDA approved for children with moderate to severe sleep apnea, I said this is big. Because right now what we've really been able to offer children with sleep apnea is CPAP. And I want to give you some data that's interesting. Until recently, it was 1 to 4% of the general pediatric population was thought to have sleep apnea. But recent data has come up with these numbers of 9.4 to 20.4% of
so roughly, so it could be 20% of the population.
10 million children. And that doesn't even account for those children that haven't been diagnosed yet.
How I keep asking, how are you going to get that word out? Because all I can see is, I'm thinking grandkids now.
Right.
Now you start to worry about, my kids made it through it, and of course I'm certain that one of them has obstructive sleep apnea, but I can tell you that this needs to be front and center.
Education.
And what are the symptoms? How is it presenting? Is it just snoring or what are the other ways? I believe you told us one time, Kirk, that it was their behavior because they're not getting enough sleep and other things, which reminded me of ADHD, which some of the symptoms.
Well, think how many are misdiagnosed.
Right. That's
or not diagnosed.
So
behavioral problems, children waking up with headaches. And another statistic, 30% of children with sleep apnea have ADHD. So that tells you something there. And I find it very impressive. These numbers, 13 to up to 29% of sleep apnea persists after children have their tonsils out. These kids go on to CPAP.
Is there a more likelihood of obesity?
Yes, obesity is a big problem.
ADHD?
It's epidemic.
I beg your pardon, obstructive sleep apnea?
Absolutely. The weight on the neck, the chest, all of this.
What is in your opinion, what is it for children? What is the worst part of this? Is it because, is it behavioral in your opinion? Is it medical? Is it genetic in your opinion? How they're just not going to be? I discovered a long time ago that I like being at 100% capacity. Is it because they're not going to be at their 100% capacity?
I think that's one way to look at it. And I remember in my training, I trained here at UC San Diego in child neurology. And
go Tritons, damn it! Hello. I spent a cup of coffee there when I was 18 years old.
But I was always, really, I don't know if the word impressed is it, but struck by the fact that so many of the children with neurological problems, when they decompensated, often it seemed to me it was because they can't breathe. And we were just beginning, and I started my training in 1998, and we were still on the pioneer breakthrough of sleep apnea coming out of that. And I don't think we were really quite connecting the dots of the impact that sleep disordered breathing or breathing disordered sleep has on child development, but we do now. And so much of what's going to change things is education. And that's why we have to remember sleep apnea, it's a medical diagnosis. It's a medical diagnosis.
Well, so I want to talk about my 16-year-old. All these things are coming up because she sometimes snores, and I think, oh, she got it from her dad. And then she also was diagnosed with ADHD, and so it's just questions are forming in my brain. So the first thing would be what for her to see. Who would she see first?
Yeah. So typically, what a parent is going to see first in their child is they're going to notice that they're mouth breathing. When they sleep at night, they're not breathing. We are designed to breathe through our nose. And when a child is mouth breathing, or an adult for that matter, when we're mouth breathing, something's gone wrong. And so the first thing you notice is the mouth breathing. You might notice bedwetting.
Is this the reason why back in the 60s and 70s they had adenoids taken out?
Oh, they still do. They still do. That is I
don't know what an adenoid is, but I used to have 6 of them. I only have 1 now.
Yeah. Well, that is the go-to.
Really?
The go-to treatment for obstructive sleep apnea in children is what's called ATP or adenoidectomy.
TNA, tonsillectomy, adenoidectomy. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a brutal.
Yeah, but they sold it to you with a lot of ice cream. Remember back in the day? Oh, you get ice cream for a week.
Right. Oh, woo-hoo. But that's the go-to. But as she just mentioned, a lot of these kids relapse after that.
Yeah.
And so what we try to do is guide the growth and development of the child's airway through those crucial years. And if we miss that window to do that, then we employ these devices to reshape that airway to get it to where its genetic potential was in the beginning. So your daughter may have always had this and you just didn't know it. and she may have had the ADD symptoms, and you didn't know it was related to her sleep.
Right.
And so what we're finding out now is that more and more pediatricians are doing sleep tests on kids so that they can understand, do we have a breathing disorder or is this a neurological sort of behavioral order?
But there's also this thing that always keeps coming up, and that's your cardiovascular.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
We've got someone coming up.
We do.
After the break, right?
World-class cardiologist, Dr. Mimi Guarneri.
All right.
So
here's the scary part, if it wasn't scary already that your children may have it. The fact that you're leaning to the right, you should be standing straight up, and the fact that you could look like Greg, yet you look like Mike. Vivos Therapeutics, stock symbol VVOS. He's a taco shy of a combination plate, that guy. Big Biz Show, bigbizshow.com. Stand by. From the Loft 100 studios in beautiful sunny Southern California, the Big Biz Show rolls on. Wherever you are watching, wherever you're listening, we always appreciate you being along for the ride. A very, very informative, fun, serious show so far. Costa, Marybert Godwin, Greg Todorov is over there. That sounds like your dating profile. Informative, fun, and serious. I'm Mike.
I like disco dancing and sand volleyball.
I sound like a buzzsaw.
Yeah.
At 9 o'clock. Great to have you along. Of course, Vivos Therapeutics is a publicly traded company under the stock symbol VVOS. You can go to vivoscare.com. Amalia Geller.
Vivos.com.
I have vivoscare.com.
Well, there's Vivos Care, but it's also Vivos.
Vivos.com. I'm arguing with the CEO by their website.
Yeah.
By the way, just wait till I argue with you guys about the pronunciation of your names. Amalia Geller, of course, is a board-certified neurologist, pediatric neurologist, talking about the outcomes of obstructive sleep apnea. Of course, Dr. Bahar Esmaili is a dentist, vice president, chief clinical integration at Vivos, and now Kirk Huntsman, CEO. This is sort of the this is the story you told me the very first day we had you on the air about I forget who it was, Jerry Garcia maybe from I forget who it was, some celebrity, Grateful Dead, who forgot to bring their sleep apnea device with them and had a cardio event because they were traveling.
Judge Antonin Scalia, and so Carrie Fisher, another A-list movie star, right? But you know, a lot of those people had not just sleep apnea, but cardiovascular disease. And so we have been at Vivos, we have been out there in the marketplace trying to find the best and the brightest and the just people that get it, that connect what cardiovascular disease does and what obstructive sleep apnea does to those same patients, right?
Of course. It's the implication of sleep apnea on cardiac health.
Yeah.
Her name is Dr. Mimi Guarneri, and she is right here in San Diego, California. You might be watching us across the country, or you're listening to us in another country, but you're right here in our backyard here.
Right here, just south of you.
Talk about the thing that we probably don't want to talk about, and that's the fact that there is a direct connection on all those people that throw their masks aside. I'm not trying to make you feel. I'm glad you're getting something done about it, and I hope more people get something done about it. And we're going to tell you sort of how to do that. And I want to remind you, this is not a paid program at all. I mean, we just had Kirk on as a guest. We're following their company, and we had so much response from our audience across the world that we said it's time to drill down here because we could be saving lives here. Talk about the connection.
Right, we could really save a lot of lives. So I'm a cardiologist, and you may say, why am I interested? Very simply, heart failure, high blood pressure, central obesity, depression, insomnia, all linked to sleep disordered breathing. And this is not pie in the sky. This is real life medicine. Somebody comes in to see me with high blood pressure, atrial fibrillation, ventricular tachycardia, people with devices, people who've had a heart attack. First thing we're thinking sleep disordered breathing. Everyone thinks of cholesterol, cigarettes, even stress. All of those are important. But they forget the link with sleep disordered breathing, sleep apnea.
How do you know? I mean, how do you know that what kind of research has been done, and is it just recent research, or is it long-term research?
No, there's lots of research in all the cardiology literature, so much so that in 2021, for the first time, I was really happy to see this, the American Heart Association did a big call out to guidelines for clinicians, internists, cardiologists, saying, hey guys, someone has high blood pressure if they're on 3 different medications, which half my patients are. Someone has atrial fibrillation. Someone's having chest pain in the middle of the night, heart failure, admitted to the hospital with heart failure. You better be checking for sleep apnea.
Dr. Guarneri, talk about age groups for us. Are you seeing more and more of the pediatric patient come through? Are we seeing more adolescent patients? Are we seeing more elderly obese? Is there a profile in your mind?
Right, so I'm an adult cardiologist, so obviously I see adults. Now we have to remember, heart disease, #1 cause of death in men and in women, not just men.
Not cancer, not
cancer.
Really?
Yeah, and the mistake that's made, women, right, say, oh, I get my pap smear, get my mammogram, forgetting that more women die of heart disease than breast cancer, for example, by far.
Oh, I did not know that.
Most women don't know.
Well, since you brought it up, talk about the female population sleep apnea. Is it a small population versus men, or is it something that presents itself in women?
So it presents in women, and let me tell you a 2-second story. I had a man come in to see me with his wife, and he said, my wife is having mental changes, and they put her on 3 different medications for memory. I said, I looked in her mouth. I'm not a dentist, you know that, right? I'm a cardiologist. But her palate was really, really high, and her airway was really, really narrowed. I can see that in my clinic. She had been to multiple neurologists, adult neurologists. She had the worst sleep apnea, right? We can test people at home now. My clinic in La Jolla, Pacific Pearl, we just send people home with kits at night. We can get the data in 24 hours. We know what we're dealing with.
So have you had a sleep test, Jess?
I have a sleep test coming up.
What is it? So what's it going to entail?
You literally just go in, you get wired up with the electrodes or whatever they are, and you go to sleep. And they register and they track how many episodes you have.
Okay, so what you're describing is an in-lab
sleep test.
You're doing the whole 9 yards.
Somnogram.
Because I read about
you can do it. Yeah, you can do it now
exactly.
with just putting it on your finger.
Right.
So you don't have to go to a lab or. Well, you can
so there's a device that's Bluetooth enabled that goes on your phone.
The reason why a lot of people didn't get diagnosed is because of that.
It was so hard.
Very hard and expensive. But now we can do that at home, especially with children.
Multiple devices. We can hook people up and in 24 hours know, okay, what's going on now? And of course, we have to tell them, don't drink any alcohol at night, right? Because that makes sleep apnea worse.
Let me ask you about the physiological changes.
Yeah.
In your opinion, what this device does here in making someone with obstructive sleep apnea go from here to here, right? Or from here to here. Was it easily believable for you in the beginning? Was it something that you had to, did you buy in right away, or as a doctor of physiological maladies like cardio health? What did you feel like when you first saw this thing?
So as a cardiologist, I think a little differently. I practice something called integrative cardiology. What does that mean? It means I'm always asking the question, why? So if somebody has diabetes, why? Is it because they're not sleeping? Is it because they're stressed? Is it because they're eating the wrong foods? They're overweight? If somebody has high blood pressure, why? You know, everybody gets these diagnoses and they say, take this drug. I'm always saying, why are you diabetic? Why are you waking up in the middle of the night? Why are you depressed? What's going on in your underlying soil, if you might, right? So this, for me, was revolutionary because you could wear your CPAP every night for the rest of your life. Right? We already know that most of my patients.
If you'd be compliant.
Exactly. Most of my patients are throwing it off. So when I saw this, I said, this is going to fix the underlying cause.
The name of the company is Vivos Therapeutics. The stock symbol is VVOS. Guys, thank you so much. We have to do this again.
Game changer.
We're going to do part 2 with just questions because we're going to have 1,000 emails. You're going to pin you to a corner and make you answer all of them. If people want to get involved in this, Kirk, if they want to go find a dentist and such, simply go to the website, vivos.com.
Right. Call the number at vivos.com. We actually have 2,000 trained clinicians around the country. Lots of entry points for people who would like to have an evaluation, just an evaluation to see.
Super easy.
Is this
Thank you guys also for taking time away from your practices, because the last thing these guys want to be in is a TV studio. Good stuff. Big Biz Show, bigbizshow.com. We'll see you tomorrow.